G'day, welcome to the first brew day. We've just kicked things into gear, so let's have a look at what's happening. This is the start of brew day, 12th of May. We're making a citrus smash. So I've currently got some water, about maybe 50 litres of water, on the way up to 77 degrees, which will be the mash in temp. Once it gets to 77, we'll transfer it over to the mash tun here, and we'll dump in 5.5 kilos of pale malt, which is what I got here. And very shortly, I'll run that through the grain mill. We'll take a look at that soon. So, I've just finished milling the grain. This is what it looks like here. So I'm just about to transfer some water over to the mash tun using one of the pumps, and then we'll get it up to temp and drop some grain in. Hopefully, if I hit pump 1 button here, we'll get some water transferring. Let's have a look. Yes, that looks good. Maybe a bit too much, so we'll just throttle in back a bit using that ball valve. Bit better. So yeah, this is water going into the mash tun. I'm looking for probably maybe about 15 litres or something like that. I do need to get it up to that temperature probe there that you can see, and that's so I can keep track of the temperature in there. So we've just set up the mash tun to recirculate. Hopefully got about 20 litres, 15-20 litres of water in there. And it's recirculating out of the bottom through a pump and through this coil here. So once we mash in, I'll recirculate. We'll mash for an hour, and I'll recirculate for that whole hour. The coil here will just maintain temperature, hopefully to about 66 degrees. Water through the sucker on the front. It looks like we're at about 66, 67 degrees at the moment, so that's pretty good. We'll mash in shortly. So we're mashing in here. If you've never smelt beer or malt being mashed, come along to a brew day, it's pretty good. So we've just mashed in, we're about 68 degrees, which is maybe a little bit hot. Maintain temperature by sort of regulating the recirculation. I'm just going to back it off a little bit to try and cool it down a bit. So yeah, there's just a slow recirculation there now, and hopefully that temperature will come back to about 66 degrees we want, and we're probably at about 68, something like that now. So we've got about 6 minutes left on the mash. Just increase the temperature in the hot liquor tank, about 81 degrees, and that's what we're going to So we've just finished the mash. I've rearranged the hoses on these pumps. I've drained out whatever wort was left in the chiller, cooler, and I've now set it up so that we can go from the mash tun into the boiler, and I've also set up this other pump to sparge. So I run a fly sparge, and this is my dollars worth of pipe and fittings from Bunnings. So I'm just about to kick in the pump. I'll transfer over to the boiler, and when we get close to the grain bed, then I'll drop the sparge arm in, and we'll start to sparge. The end goal is to get, I think, about 27-28 litres into the kettle to boil back to about 25 litres. So let's see how we go. So this is coming out of the mash tun and into the kettle. I'm just going to keep an eye on the height in the mash tun. Once this gets down sort of close to the grain bed, we'll drop the sparge arm in and we'll start sparging, see how it goes. So I've just spotted the top of the grain bed, you can see it there. And so I've just kicked off the little sparge there. I've retarded the flow into the kettle, probably need to do that a bit more. So the goal is to keep the level around about the top of the grain bed. If I can match the outflow, the inflow, hopefully that'll all work, and we'll just run like this until I get, like I said, sort of 28 litres into the kettle, and then we'll be ready to go for the boil. So I've just finished transferring from the mash tun over to the boiler, and now the element's on in the boiler. We'll wait to get it up to the boil. No better way to enjoy a brew day than to have a brew. Cheers. Looks like we've got a boil. So I'll start the timer there. We're going to boil for an hour, 60 minutes, and I've got a 50 gram Citra hop addition for the last 25. Here is 50 grams of Citra hops. Measured out, we've got about 25 minutes left on the boil. So, in they go. So they'll be the bittering hops, and I've got another 50 grams of Citra to dry hop, maybe on day 4 of the fermentation, so it might be on Thursday. So once the boil is over, I'm going to try and cool it down as quickly as I can. We'll get it down to, should be able to get it down to about 36 degrees, which is a good temperature to pitch the yeast at, I hope. What I'm going to chill it with, I'll put this in the kettle, and we'll run cold water through it, and the cold water I'll put in the hot liquor tank. So I'm just going to set up, and we'll use pump 1. Set them up to recirc through that, so we'll come out of the bottom, and we'll go into one side of the chiller. We'll actually go into the other side of the chiller, and there, and then we'll come out of the chiller and back into the top of the so that's how we'll fill it. I'll fill this up shortly with water, and I'll probably put 3 or 4 5-kilo bricks of ice in there just to speed the process up a bit. Shit. Dropping the immersion chiller into the keg, and I'll start this recirculating pump 1. Right, it's closed, so that should hopefully recirculate. So I've just got like an icy bath in here to as much cold water as possible, and should be some hot water coming out of the other end. And to help the process, Timmy is going to hopefully start a bit of a whirlpool with my $10 paint stirrer. Love it.
And we also have our site foreman
Snoozing on the job.
working hard or hardly working.
So we got down to about 36 degrees doing that in, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 minutes or something like that. It was pretty good. That's good enough temperature to pitch the yeast at, so I'm just going to gravity feed it into this. Yeah, looks like a while. Looks good. So I've got the fridge set at 19 degrees, which is what I'm going to ferment at. The word here hopefully is at about 36 or something like that. And I've got about 26 litres. I'll put about 25 in here, and there's probably another litre. I'll use that to sample. Shortly we'll have a look at that. So I'll just hook this up. This is a temperature probe from the Inkbird, which you just tape on. And that's just half of a stubby cooler that I cut up. There you go. I'll just give that a minute, and we'll see what temperature it is before we pitch the yeast. And while we're waiting for that to equalise, we'll go and grab a sample of what's in the keg and take a specific gravity, have a look at the colour and the clarity. It's a good looking colour. It is at 10. It's a bit hard to see because of the head, right? But it's 10. It's in the 1040s. We might give it a bit more time to just to get rid of that head so we can see through properly. I'm just using Tap Ale USO 5 yeast, and I'm going to pitch it dry. I fucked around a little bit with rehydrating, but it seems to work fine when I pitch it dry. So we'll throw it in, and it's at about 31 degrees, which I think is a pretty good temperature to pitch at. That's it. See you in a couple of weeks.